It will be impossible to forget the story of Liam Ramos, the 5-year-old boy with the bunny hat detained in Minneapolis and taken to Dilley Detention Center in South Texas. And part of what disturbs so many Americans about his story is the understanding that behind his case, this is really just the tip of the iceberg. The number of kids in ICE detention has increased 6-fold since the start of the second Trump administration, and multiple reports reveal hundreds of children are being held at Dilley alone. Among those, a 16-year-old named Christian Ruby, who arrived in the U.S. from Mexico when he was 7. He told The Times, quote, "I just want to get out of here. It's hell." ProPublica also published letters and drawings by children at Dilley, conveying the pain of being in detention. Here's Ariana Velasquez, a high school student, reading her letter about what she's gone through at that detention center.
Hello, my name is Ariana V. I'm 14 years old and I'm from Honduras. I've been detained for 45 days and I have never felt so much fear to go to a place as I feel here. Every time I remind myself that once I go back to Honduras, a lot of dangerous things could happen to my mom and I. My younger siblings haven't been able to see their mom in more than a month. They're very young and you need both of your parents when you're growing up. Since I got to this center, all you will feel is sadness and mostly depression.
And joining us now to discuss is Eric Lee, immigration attorney and partner at Lee and Godshall Bennett. Eric, it's good to have you back on the show. I know that you have clients on the inside, that you're in touch with them regularly. What are the children there going through?
Well, I think what the American people are hearing and seeing and reading when they read these children's letters is the reality that we live in a country where the federal government kidnaps children, spirits them away to what are really concentration camps hundreds of miles from home, detains them for months in disease-infested conditions, deprives them of adequate food, of potable water, and medical attention. This is not negligence or a few bad apples. This is a deliberate policy directed from the White House by Donald Trump and his fascistic aides like Stephen Miller to harm children. Given your last segment, the fact that this administration and Trump himself are so deeply implicated in the Epstein scandal, it really comes as no surprise that this is how children of vulnerable working class families are treated in this country. There are periods of American history that it is common to sort of treat as aberrations: Chinese exclusion, the internment of Japanese, segregation. Politicians treat this as though this is blips on American history that were corrected. But today the government is grabbing people, kidnapping them, sending them hundreds of miles away, and depriving them of their basic needs. I think this is a mark of shame on American history, and that those responsible should be prosecuted.
Eric, I think I saw some remarks that you gave earlier this week about one of the children in Dilley who had tried to take her own life. Could you talk a little bit about that story?
That's right. A 13-year-old girl who had been detained at Dilley for a couple of months. She and her mom and her 8-year-old sister were detained there together. Attempted to kill herself last month, about two and a half weeks ago. She was put in isolation upon her return from the hospital. ICE actually prohibited the young girl's mother from calling me in the aftermath, from calling a congressperson, from calling journalists. This is the type of conditions that these children are forced to endure day in and day out. I represent a family, the El Gamal family. They've been in detention at Dilley for 8 months. There's 2 5-year-olds. Everybody is rightly outraged over the treatment of Liam Ramos. My clients have been there for 8 months. They turned 5 years old in December. They have recurring nightmares where they're running away from animals and they can't get away and they're in a cage. They wake up screaming every night, begging for their mother. They want a piece of fruit. They say they ask every day for fruit, for candy, for books. These are all being denied to them. The guards are abusive. I think that what people have to understand, this is not civil detention. This is something worse, especially at this particular facility and some of the new ones where like the East Montana facility in El Paso, where guards are systematically beating detainees in detention, wrapping flannel around their fists so that they can beat them in the head without giving them bruises. This is what the federal government is doing to people in this country, some of whom have been here for years, and most of whom have committed no crime. That is the state of reality in this country. I think it is absolutely necessary before this gets worse. And the 20th century tells you when mass detention and camps are being built across a country that can house hundreds of thousands of people, and that's what they're doing with these warehouses. Wherever you are in America, as you're watching this, Google ICE warehouse and your metropolitan area. They're building one in your backyard, and it's incumbent upon the whole American population and really the population of the world to stand up, get out there, and stop this from becoming reality. Because having been in these facilities, speaking to the people inside, we are going down a very dangerous path in this country if the population doesn't stand up and fight back.
Eric, have your children, your younger clients, been getting the medical care that they need? There was a horrifying story about an 18-month-old who nearly died of respiratory failure. Can you talk about the conditions when it concerns their basic health?
There isn't medical attention. There are, as far as I know, there aren't even really health professionals. There aren't credentialed teachers. When one of my young clients suffered from appendicitis last year, he was writhing around on the floor in pain, pardon me, but vomiting out of pain, and he was begging the authorities there for help. They told him, take an aspirin, come back in 3 days. That's what it's like in these places. I think if I can't,
Oh, please.
May I just make one more quick point? Because I saw Hillary Clinton at the Munich Security Conference say that during her husband's administration and the Obama administration, at least they got rid of millions of people through mass deportation without hurting anybody. That's about as big a lie as we should expect from the Clintons. An estimated 10,000 immigrants died in the desert trying to cross into this country after Bill Clinton enacted Operation Gatekeeper to stop people from crossing in the urban areas where they weren't going to die trying. Millions of families were broken by the Obama administration, and this network of detainment camps, including Dilley, which Obama opened, are bipartisan. And now Trump is expanding them and using this as the spearhead in his attempt to set up a dictatorship in this country, and that's extremely concerning.
Eric Lee, thank you, and thank you for your advocacy for all of those children.
Thanks for having me.